welcome to...
This is how we're going to start it? Okay,
welcome
this
to...
is the real one. We're starting.
Yeah, welcome to Anti-Depressing, you guys.
I think this is the first time you've ever said the intro.
I know.
You forgot the tagline.
The world may be depressing, but we are not.
That's the ending one.
Where we talk about everything from liturgy to Lexapro. We are
She's
we are so. It's almost like I've been listening to you.
Oh my gosh.
We are so excited to be here with you all. It's going to be a great episode. We're talking music. We're talking maternal health. Oof. We're talking Chip and Joanna Gaines. I mean, if you don't think that's balance, then what the heck are you even doing? So
that's a you problem.
Honestly. So to launch us into this episode.
Yes.
What kind of music are you listening to? I mean, honestly.
Wait. Should I pull up my Spotify?
Yeah. And
should I not say whatever? Should I pull up a music app that I use?
There it is. Yeah. So, there it
Everybody
is.
Gear up. My car rides are mostly with my kids. Are you ready?
Oh, did I tell you that on my top 22 so far or whatever, it's the Spider-Man soundtrack?
Of course it is.
Yeah, because your daughter. So
okay, are y'all ready?
We are not licensed to play anything, but
so I'm just gonna tell you about it,
which is so lame. But we'll just kind of okay. Go ahead.
Don't play any clips. We'll just talk about it.
Okay, go ahead.
My top soundtracks.
Okay.
Cars, original motion picture.
Yeah.
Obsessed. My kids obsessed.
Okay.
Paw Patrol the movie soundtrack. Marvel Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which if you have never listened to that soundtrack, it's done exclusively almost by Patrick Stump, who was the lead singer of Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
So, nobody complained. And we have been able to slowly integrate some just like a actual Fall Out Boy into the shuffle, and my kids don't hate it. So that's great.
Like, all we're doing is listening to Spider-Man.
Midnight's the Till Dawn edition.
Perfect.
Clean version.
Perfect.
Love it.
Yeah.
And Barbie Dolphin Magic.
Wow.
If that's not balance, what is? But I will say the most exciting thing that's been happening in my music world right now is that my daughter, Noelle, very choosy about what we listen to, loves the Cars soundtrack so much. And there's one song that, who sings it? Shania Twain sings.
Queen.
And is it Shania Twain? No, it's Sheryl Crow. Oh my gosh. Also Queen. Yeah. I told Steven I wish it was Shania Twain. I love Shania Twain. But she hasn't made it into there yet. But she loved the Sheryl Crow song. So now I've been able to like introduce Sheryl Crow. And now she actually just likes all female country music.
Oh my God.
Into it. She's like, does a girl sing this? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I like it.
Oh, nice. I mean, what did she used to ask when she was little? She used to say, like, what'd she say? Like, she used to say, oh, man, she used to ask so much about, like, girls. And
yeah, she used to say that she would only pray for girls when she went to bed. She was like, just women. Yeah. Just the women.
And you're like, you know what, girl? Like, I honestly get it, and I support it. I support it.
I'm here for it, girl.
Yeah, honestly.
But she loves it. And so we did like a little Women of Country shuffle. And she's also just like becoming this little country girl. I don't know what happened. She's in her country era because she like watched Cars, loves cars. Now she just loves NASCAR in general. Okay. Anything racing. We live by Daytona, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But anything racing, she's here for. Now she likes female country music. Okay. She told me she wants to live on a farm with horses and she wants to have cows and milk the cows and like have land. She was like, I just need like some space to run.
That's from your parents. That's from her parents. Because you guys
we talk about that all the time. Yeah.
You guys talk about that all the time.
Fair.
You'll be like, we need space, we need land, just for the kids to like be kids.
Yeah, but she says that all the time. She's like, I just need to run. And me and Fran, our dog, she's like, we just need to run and we need space. And
you always say that.
Crazy.
You always say that.
But she can't wait. She's so excited.
That part makes sense.
Yeah, she has a big like country girl fantasy, and I'm here for it. All launched by listening to a Sheryl Crow song 87 times.
I love that. She has great taste. Well,
I love it.
Let me since we're not licensed to play any music,
can you sing something?
Give me 1 second. I will, but also let me grab 2 records that I've been listening to.
Oh, okay. To show them?
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk about anything for the next like 5 seconds.
Talk about anything. You always do this to me, and I'm like, talk about anything. Chenele has the most eclectic music taste of all time. Like, I'm telling you, her shuffling in the car is the most chaotic thing you've ever been a part of in your life. An emotional journey So to all of you listening who have maybe been to camp with us, who've been on the road with us on a road trip, God bless. You know what I'm talking about. You know the long drives where we just listen to the craziest array of emotions. It's beautiful. Okay. It's everything to me.
Here we go. I'm almost ready.
She's almost ready. If you can hear her echoey voice ringing through the room.
Okay, so I found 3. Okay. I wanted to make myself obviously look different, so I found 3. So,
she's cool.
Jamiroquai, So Good. I don't know if we're licensed to show this, so again, blur that out.
Just gets like a little film over it.
Just a film. So Jamiroquai sings some of my favorite songs. Cosmic Girl, So Good. He also sings a song in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my gosh.
Which you all might recognize, but it's called Canned Heat. So from Napoleon Dynamite, which is like, dance. Nothing else for me to do but dance when Napoleon's doing his performance.
Shout out to that movie also.
Next I've been popping is ABBA, the singles, the first 10 years. So it has Chiquita on it, Dancing Queen, Gimme Gimme Gimme, The Winner Takes It All. So
do you just dance the whole time you listen?
All of the bops, yes.
As you should. Just shimmy your way through that album.
And then lastly is an original pressing of Funny Girl, one of my favorite movies and musicals.
You went and saw it,
Barbra Streisand. I did see it in New York.
Amazing.
So don't tell me not to live, just sit and putter. Yeah, so good. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. So good. Exclusive, not licensed to sing those words. So, yes. But anyway.
We don't know anything about licensing.
I just keep saying that. Allegedly.
So,
yeah. So
who's to say?
Who's to say? So that's what I've been bobbing lately is all of those things. And obviously all of your husband's music, old music, like Aileron. Music, throwback.
Only the real ones
know who Aileron is. And so, yeah, I'm just preparing for camp.
What's that song that we love?
When the storm draws near, I will shed. We're licensed to sing this.
Yeah, we can sing whatever.
It's the endless sky by your side. Aileron, A-Y-E-L.
No. A-Y-L-E-R-O-N. Like the aileron of a plane.
Yep.
I don't know why I did this, but you know, like planes.
Check it out. So, yeah.
That was like 10 years ago or more that all of that music came out.
Only the real ones.
But we were OG fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we are. Also, my husband's coming out with a new song. Shameless plug.
Can't wait.
But it should come out before this episode comes out. I actually don't know that. But I have the final version, which I am not licensed to show you. Maybe not licensed, but I'm not
cannot show you.
Not allowed.
We cannot wait. So,
but it's great.
So different switch up for our start of this episode. Just talking about
what we're
listening to. We just want to get to know you guys. We want y'all to get to know us a little bit more. So the takeaway from this is that I'm very different. And I like things that are different. I wear cool clothes.
She's trendy. She's not your average girl.
Just really different. I have band posters.
I think we talk about how you're different in every episode. And I think after a while, people are going to be like, but is different the same? And like, what is the Also, wait a second. You're on this like, I'm different. But just last week, you were like, you know what I'm tired of? People trying to be independent. Just like admit that you like Starbucks and admit that you like what everybody likes. Like being different is not like a personality trait. But don't you feel like you're trying to?
So let's go ahead and segue.
But right?
Yeah.
But I think this is your goal. Can I tell you what I think your goal is?
What?
I'm going to therapize you. I think if everybody else will admit they're the same, then it makes you look even more different. You know what I mean?
Everybody else say that you're the same, so I feel
Everyone's
different.
the same. I'm the only one that's different, which isn't that how people want to feel?
Yeah. For snacks, I like eating sauerkraut and cream cheese. I'm just a different kind of girl. I also love sports, and I'm also a lizard person, so.
You can't stand when girls are like, I like sports to try to be different.
To try to be different. Now, don't come for me. I do love it when women love sports.
You do. But when they're like, I'm just saying it because I'm trying to be unique.
Yeah, like if it's not who you are, just own that.
Just own it.
Like it's
Chenele
okay.
does not like sports.
And that's okay.
And that's fine.
I like the camaraderie of it. but I don't understand the like, and maybe I could understand it one day. Like, sure,
you don't have the desire to,
but I just don't want to.
Rules.
And
you
it's
like
care. Card games.
And that's fine.
I don't like. She doesn't like card games. I just fall into like being stressed.
And don't think you're going to be like, oh well, this one she'll really like. She doesn't like.
I just don't.
Just don't put the heat on her.
So individuality. It's only for me. So let's segue into our stories.
Let's dance.
Wrong one. So
let's do it.
First story. You want to kick us off?
I'd be honored.
Yep.
Such a sad story, but also hopeful and beautiful.
There it is.
So the National Maternal Health Hotline just had its first year, which is, first of all, it is 2023. The fact that it has taken this long for us to have a hotline for mothers to call when they feel like they're in crisis postpartum is insane. But a lot of things happening in the postpartum world in our country is insane. So they just finished their first year and they received 12,000 calls and texts within that first year. And so there's so much power in moms having a place to reach out to when they feel like they're struggling postpartum, and in a non-threatening way that like I can just send a text. I don't have to go in right away to my doctor. Like I can just kind of see. But a lot of moms just feel so isolated in postpartum, and it's such a big shift, and your hormones are like going crazy and you're not sleeping and you're trying to take care of this baby, and if you have other kids you're trying to like now split your time, and there's a lot of feelings of guilt if things aren't going the way you thought they would, and there's just so much hurt there. And so it's amazing that so many moms felt like they could reach out.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's like mommies, like you mentioned on our previous episode, it's like you give so much of yourself to bring a person into the world, right?
Yeah.
And even if you don't naturally birth someone, right, being a present parent is like a whole conversation and feat in itself. So whether you're an adoptive parent or whatever, just like a guardian of another child, it's like having that ability to like be present and be in the mix, but then also in this scenario, so in this, in this case of like, in this case of women that, have given birth to children that are experiencing specific like mental and emotional crises, there's such a stigma against conversations about it. And then we've seen for years, like so many women silently suffering, whether it's for women saying like, I don't feel particularly close to my child, or I don't feel like I'm acceptable to take care of my child, and us just kind of blanketing their feelings. And so having this hotline and having so many calls, I mean, is just really a testament to how much need there is, which is both very sad and very encouraging to be like, well, now maybe we can respond to that need of like, how can we actually support mommies?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think there's, to what you're saying, like, how can we support moms as individuals, but there's a greater call in the Catholic Church to that, because we are pro-life, right? We want these mothers to have their babies, but the fact that 12,000 moms called, and there's so many more that silently suffered, like, what are we doing for mothers when they're born? Like, why aren't there church committees at every church of like meal trains and all that stuff for moms when the baby's first born, and like intentionally praying for them, but doing the like, not like, let me know if you need anything, but hey, I'm bringing a meal at this time, and hey, can I take your other kids to the park? Like if you're friends with a mommy who's having a baby, like stepping in. And I think that's something that a lot of times we don't want to be pushy or we don't want to get in their way, but those things can mean a lot. And I remember when I was pregnant with Noelle, one of my friends gave me a gift, but it was not for the baby. And like everybody, when you're pregnant, is like giving you gifts for the baby, which is beautiful. And the baby's amazing, obviously. But she doesn't have any kids of her own. And so this was just like from her heart, not from experience of like, oh, this is what I would have wanted, but just gave me a bunch of like self-care stuff for after the baby was born. And I just remember feeling like so seen and loved, of like, oh, I matter in this journey. And that was so important to me. And so helpful and beautiful. And I think so many like a simple act of that, of like letting them know that they matter and you see them, is so necessary. Because we talk about like, oh, it takes a village to raise kids. But I've seen these clips of moms being like, so like, do I call them? Do they just show up? Like, when does the village show up? And I think in Catholic community, it's like the perfect place to be like, hey, we are a village and we are like a community of Christ. And so we are going to like get to work helping you when you have a baby, and we're going to be there for you, and we're going to support you because like we're welcoming this baby into our church community when they get baptized. And so like, we're all in this. Yeah. So whatever you need, we're there.
And that's a word. And it's like, and also I want to share with everyone listening that, do you guys hear that? So we are in our studio. Which is, if you listen to a few episodes before, is my childhood bedroom. So rock and roll with us as we navigate living with people and having to record.
This is how life is,
and
though.
This is how
it doesn't always go as
ebbs
planned.
And flows. So we're going to try to speak directly into this mic, so to ensure that you guys hear only us. But if you hear my very old father speaking very loudly on the phone, then, you know.
That is what it is.
Just ignore it.
It was meant to be.
So
all is well.
Yeah. So I definitely think that it's so interesting, and I love what you were saying about being a village, and I think Catholic communities can be much better about that in a lot of ways too. So even like seeing the maternal hotline receive 12,000 calls, I think about mommies and fathers that have experienced loss too, like grief over, because we know like miscarriage is like rampant.
Yeah, absolutely.
And much more occurring than we think. And and I think about ministries like Redbird Ministries that provide like counseling for mothers that are experiencing that grief, or families.
Absolutely.
And how we can have apostolates like that at our parishes, and we can provide spaces for parents to grieve and to navigate like just general parental classes. So like, how do you how the heck
do you be a parent?
And now I like give birth, and now they're just sending this baby home with us. Like, what does this even?
Insane.
Yeah. So I think there's so much opportunity there, and we can use this like hotline story as a catalyst in a lot of different spaces to say like, okay, well then how can we as a parish community, as a church community, as a school, whatever, how can we support people that are having these children? Like, what do they need? Do they need counseling? Do they need activities? Do they need just like a fun community? Do we need to do we need to form like a group of moms that just meet and talk about like, what's on TV? Like, what do they need? And so it's so interesting, and definitely something to pay attention to, faux show.
Yeah. And if you are a postpartum mommy listening to this, like, just know that you're doing a great job, and we're proud of you. And there's going to be moments where you feel like a failure, and you're not, because you're doing the best you can with the resources and energy you have. And don't hesitate. Like, if something feels off, seek help. Like, make that call. Have your partner make that call to your doctor. Whoever needs to make that call, just make it. You will not regret prioritizing yourself, because you cannot prioritize a newborn baby if you do not prioritize your own health.
Tell someone you love, and just know that like you're very loved.
Yeah. And it doesn't make you weak.
It does
makes
not.
You strong.
The fact that you are even, because honestly, I provide for me. So the fact that you are, and that's a lot some days. So most days. So if you're, we all respect you, and, just got to look out for you. So that's a great segue into our next story.
Yes.
Which is all about, actually, it's not a great segue, but our next story is all about marriage and longevity. So let's go ahead and move on. Although I love talking about mental health. So
I know.
Next story is Chip and Joanna Gaines have celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary.
20 years.
Magnolia Table, famous, and House Flipper, famous.
I like that that's what your reference would have been.
I know.
I would have been like Fixer Upper.
I know. Fixer Upper.
And she was like Have you heard of
Magnolia?
Their restaurant?
Yeah, right. And then what's the other thing in Target? Magnolia, right? Is that just what it's called?
Yeah. Right.
That's their brand.
Yeah, that's their whole brand now. Yeah, because they have Magnolia Farms, they have the store, they have Magnolia Tables, the restaurant.
Yes, so famous. They have a
whole brand.
They've celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary, which is like so nuts. Mm-hmm. And they in this article from the Today Show, they talked about how important it was for them to both be confident in who they were before they got married, which is a conversation that everybody should be having because oh my gosh, like how many of us in these streets like want to get married and have no idea who we are. So
there it is. And think that like the other person will tell you who you are.
Whoops. So asking the resident married person real quick.
The resident married.
What do you wish that you knew about yourself before you got married?
Ooh.
That you wish you knew about yourself when you got married?
That's a really good question. We've been married for almost 7 years. Wow. Crazy. So not 20, but getting there.
Wow.
Ooh. That's something I wish I would have known about myself.
What's something that you learned? Was there like a challenge?
Something I learned. I feel like I learned a lot about like I kind of knew a little bit about this, but just about like the power of like not being in control. Does that make sense? Because up until the time I got married, like I controlled my schedule, I controlled my everything, and I'm pretty type A and calendar E. And my husband and I were long distance our whole dating relationship until we got engaged. And so I didn't really have to plan my life around him. And he didn't have to plan my life around me. Like we would talk on the phone, we'd have our like scheduled times, but we weren't like too intense about it. We're both pretty flexible people in that way. And so I think that was the biggest adjustment that I was like, oh, wow, it's hard to be like, hey, I made plans for us Friday night with this person and not think you have to check first. And then him be like, I made plans with us with this person. And we did a ton of double booking. If you were friends with us in our first year of marriage, you got plans canceled. Like, you did. Because we double book like crazy because you don't think like, oh, I should check on this person with this person first. So I would say like, practicing the art of checking with the person, especially if you're long distance. If you date in the same city, you probably already do that. Like, hey, do we have plans Friday night with these people? But if you date long distance, it's like you're not scheduling around each other. So that was the biggest learning curve for us. But I will say, like, I was in therapy while we were dating, and that was game changing. I have no idea how we would have made it through our dating relationship, and definitely not through a marriage at the state I was at before that, because there was so much trauma from my childhood and just like high school stuff that would come up in our dating relationship, and I would randomly be mad about like the tone my husband said something in or the phrasing, and I was like, why is this triggering me? And then I would talk to my therapist about it and be able to like work through like, oh, and it would click. And then I could come back and be like, okay, this is why this was coming up and this is why this was. And we could really work through a lot of that, which just set me up for success. So I think like Chip and Joanna were saying, like being confident in who you are as people, they said like before they even started dating, they were. And I think a lot of people, that's beautiful, especially if you get married later in life, being able to like, okay, I am going to work out my stuff before I enter into a relationship. That's beautiful. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, we're already dating. We started dating in college and we're thinking about marriage. It's never too late. No stress.
It's never too late.
If you're married, it's never too late.
Never too late to get to know another person and to get to know yourself.
But like there is just so much power in having a sounding board that is not you or your partner to bounce things off of, to kind of like process through why something might be coming up. And this is ongoing. I know so many couples who go to marriage therapy because of this stuff. And a lot of people think like marriage therapy is like the last ditch effort before we get divorced. Like we're going to try this like Hail Mary and hope that this will save it. And it's like, that's not what it is. You know, like for a lot of people, that's how they use it. But quote unquote, normal, healthy couples can go to therapy. Like anybody can when like you become parents, like what we were just talking about, or a life shift happens, you move somewhere, somebody gets a new job, something just isn't clicking right, something came up. Like, we talk a lot about how, like, the body keeps score. If there's a certain time of year you're fighting all the time, like, there could be something underneath that. So going together once you're married and doing, like, check-ins to make sure, like, I am good and confident in who I am, you are good and confident in who you are, so that we can be confident in our marriage. Because if you can't trust yourself and your own emotions, you're never going to trust somebody else.
That hurts. I do want whoever I would get married to, if I get married, to just fall out of the sky, immediately understand me, maybe sing, have a voice like the guy in Prince Eric in Little Mermaid, the redone
This
version.
Is not unrealistic. Keep going.
Yeah, probably
more details.
Be very independently wealthy,
of course.
Compassionate, smell good, big arms. It's not a lot to ask for. So that's, I mean, have a good relationship with his family, have good friendship, love Jesus,
subplot,
all those things. So,
on a very, very real note, what are things you feel like, because obviously you're still in the stage where you're discerning, like, if you even want to be married, but what are some things you feel like you're doing to kind of prepare yourself for if that's what the Lord's calling you to?
Ooh, it's good because I like this conversation, because sometimes we talk about, like, preparing ourselves for marriage if you're single. And I think that it's important to prepare yourself for yourself. So, like, preparing myself to be the best version of myself, which is what Chip and Joanna were talking about. It's right. It's like, you got to be confident in who you are. So for me, I know that there are things that I do in my life that I can do less of or can do better at. And so joining, like, groups that I need to join to maybe work through particular issues, or, and going to therapy, or, just having better relationships with my siblings and with my mother and people in my life, and just being a better friend to people and learning through those non-intimate relationships to be like, okay, how am I showing up for my friends? So, like, for example, your sister, and she used to live down here, and so we would hang out all the time. And so one day she said to me, we were just driving, and randomly she was like, hey, can I tell you something? And I was like, sure. And she's like, sometimes when you cancel plans, it hurts my feelings. And we were just driving, and I was like, okay, noted. And she was like,
good to know.
Sometimes it hurts my feelings, and I get sad. And I was like, okay. And since then, I was like, I took, like, a note, and I was like, okay, I know that it's frustrating when I cancel plans, and in this scenario, I might just stop saying yes to things without knowing myself and knowing if really I'm tired, or knowing if I'm not in the mood. So I think just, like, being in healthy, non-intimate relationships.
Beautiful.
And like, learning from those, and then taking note of things in your life that you're like, I should adjust this for my own well-being. Like, I should adjust this.
Yeah.
So this isn't something that I'm constantly coming to a friend for, constantly coming to, so, like, if this is a reoccurring thing in my life, I should, like, learn about it more.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I've been doing.
That's beautiful.
So if somebody comes in my life, they'll be like, Chenele, you've been doing the work. Absolutely. And also having, like, a killer skincare routine, make sure
she's
I'm
doing
nice
the physical
and
work,
supply,
the mental work.
doing the physical work, doing the mental work, doing the spiritual work. So I'm ready.
She's
I'm
working.
ready. I'm
but
ready
I
to be...
love your rephrase in the beginning to, like, instead of putting the weight of the world on single people, of, like, preparing for marriage, like, just preparing for your life and just being healthy for your life. Because like, I think there's this mentality of, like, you prepare for marriage, and then once you get married, it's like, whew, you're in the clear. You
and how
made
many
it.
people have you spoken to that have probably asked you that? Like, when you got married, do you feel like you were better? And you and Steven were probably like, no. If anything,
like,
it was probably
you have
harder.
To now work harder.
Like, if anything, now we're just sitting in a room together, and now we have people that depend on us, and we have to learn how to communicate in silence.
Yeah.
There's so many times that I will watch Jasmyn and her husband just communicate in complete silence.
It's a skill.
Like, they'll, like, look at each other or whatever, and Steven's like, all right, let's go. Dad's taking you to bed. Mommy needs a rest.
No,
or, like,
so true.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but I think that just, like, breeds this idea that, like, if I prepare myself for my spouse and they prepare themselves for me, then once we're together, it's going to be, like, easy and we'll both be prepared. But that, like, individuality that you're creating is, like, not going to work in a marriage. That, like, you're still going to have to grow together. You did a lot of growing. Then you're going to have to grow together. Then you're going to have to grow with your kids. Oof. All of life is growth, and it's hard, but the work is worth it to have like a good and full
There's always going to be another mountain, you know?
Always going to want to make it move.
I mean, it feels like sometimes there's always going to be an uphill battle.
I know. And sometimes you have to lose, and that's okay.
You know, how fast you get there.
It's not really about what's waiting on the other side. I think it's about the climb. Yeah.
It's the climb. It's a climb.
If you didn't get that reference, I don't know.
Unsubscribe. So
this podcast isn't for you.
So that is, you know, that's it for today, you guys. I mean, we're coming at you with some hot stuff. I mean, we're coming at you with
growth.
Some news.
Everybody go to therapy.
Everybody go to therapy.
How many times do you think we can say that before people are like, we literally get it. We get it.
Until they cancel us. Who knows? Until this show is literally canceled because they're going to be like, you know what? They're playing too much unlicensed music. So yeah. So who knows? But you guys, in the meantime, check us out next week. We love being with y'all.
Yeah. Love and prayers. Smash that
like button.
Like button.
Comment, subscribe, watch us on YouTube. The world might be depressing,
but we are not most of the time.
Check us out. All right. Talk to you guys soon.